Okay, so welcome back to the next session. This is day 4. So that's right, we were able to complete the first 4 days, 6 more days to go, and a lot of learning is on the way. Great. So let me know if I am properly audible and you can see me properly. There's no network issues. And and how is your experience with this coding challenge? Yeah, hi, good evening, Abhishek. Okay, just wanted to update as well. If you can see, there's a links here. So if you want to follow me on, okay, this side. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, that's my profile ID. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that's where you have. So this is Instagram. My personal is the first one, and Telesco Edutech, the Telesco Instagram account is also there. And then we have our website if you want to visit and learn more about it. We also have a Discord, which is here. You can also connect on Discord. And then we also have a YouTube channel, of course. That's where you are. And also let me know from where you are watching this. Are you watching it on LinkedIn or YouTube? Because we are live on both the platforms. Okay, just a second. I just want to check if everything is good. Okay, so before we start, hit that like button, everyone, and we can get started. Okay, cool. Okay, so what we are going to do today. So let me just go through what we have done till now. So basically, on day 1, we have talked about recursion and memoization. Okay, I was able to pronounce that properly for the first time. It was more about how do you learn a new thing. Example, a lot of people are not sure about memoization. In fact, practically in my projects which I've done before, I've never used memoization. And even if I've used it, I was not sure what's the name of it. Okay, so sometimes you use a concept and then you realize, oh, this is what it is called. And then that's what's gonna be took that part. Next, I wanted to do a project as well in this challenge, and I thought I will do it only for 2 days. But then we are enjoying it, right? We are enjoying the process of building a project and then moving from a core Java application to a framework, how the journey goes. Of course, we cannot learn everything in 1 video or 2 videos. Even to learn Spring, it will take around 3 to 4 months. So basically, but we are trying to understand. There is some noise in the last video. There was some annoying noise. Okay, let me know if it is still there in this particular session. Okay, so and then we started building a project, and now today we are going to build the same project which we have done before, so that we can it will make much more sense. Okay, what we are doing, but this time we are going to use MVC. Okay, so basically we are converting our project into a web project. Okay, that will be cool, right? Okay, so if you hear this noise which is coming up, this is because of the power failure and all my UPS. In fact, in the office we have how many? 5 UPS, and they all start shouting, "Hey, there's no power!" So that might be an issue. Okay, so ignore that noise and focus on my voice. That's important. Cool. So let's get started, and let me show you the code what we have done till now, and let's talk about the code, and then we'll also see what we're going to do today in this particular in the image. Okay, so if I want to go through one by one, basically we have this number of classes here. Okay, let me just move it here. Yeah, and also move it this side. So basically, we have our product class. It's all about this class, which is product class, and in this we have used 4 variables basically. And for those 4 variables, of course, we need to get getters and setters. In fact, before this session, around 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. IST, I have uploaded a video, a short on YouTube, which talks about the Lombok. How do you reduce this code? Okay, so if you have not checked it out, do check it out later. Okay, and okay, so we'll also convert this into a Lombok, but we'll see later how do we do that. So this is the class which you want to work with. So every product in my office, basically, that's a product, right? Even if we talk about this remote, that is a product. Now, what I want to achieve with this is, with this product, basically, I want to have a place where I can check where a product is. Example, there are some products on this table. In fact, a lot of products, because I'm going live. I have a Stream Deck for the switching between the screens. I have a Mac Studio for the streaming. I have my personal laptop here to check everything is going well. I have iPad where I write something. And I don't know why this light is sitting here. I also have a light here. That's huge. Okay, so it gives you a good light on the face. So basically, we have so many items here, right? So sometimes we keep this item somewhere and we lose it, right? So we have to search where that particular item is. And for that, we have this database, this application which stores where it is. And that's why you can see we have a name, type, place, and warranty, because I also want to know if the current product is still in warranty or not. Now, to manage it, what if you want to add a product? What if you want to remove a product? What if you, or not remove, we have not done that. What if you want to add a product? What if you want to search something, where the particular product is? And also, I want to know in a particular place, how many products I have, or what are the products we have. And if you want to put that logic, we can do that in here. So we have this product service class. And the reason I have created different classes here, of course, you can write everything in one class, because that's what we do when we start learning coding, right? In fact, I remember when I started my programming journey, I used to write everything in one particular file. It's good, it works. The problem is, if you want to change something and you're not sure what you're changing, right? And that's why creating different layers makes much more sense. So what layers we have? So basically, this is my main.java. This is where I execute something. So if you want to call something and if you want to do all the execution stuff, with calling methods and stuff, you will do that in the main class. Of course, you can name this class anything you want. But since this is a console-based application which we already built, we have this main method here. And in this, basically, we are getting all the products. Now, how we are getting the products, that's not the concern of main. It just says, I want the product, give me the products. Same goes for other methods as well. If you want to search a particular product, if you want to search for a place, if you want to add the products. So basically, we have the calling here. The actual logic goes here. So you can see we have a product service here. This is where the actual logic goes. Okay. But now, since we want to store this data in the database, right? See, not every application will have a database. And if you're using a database, of course, you can write your database connectivity code. So it doesn't matter which language you work with, which database you work with. We have to connect to a database, right? We have to follow certain steps. In the same way, here, if you want to write your database connections, don't do it in service class. Service class simply says, this is where your logic will be. If you want to process something, example, let's say if you want to add two numbers, right? So from a main method, you will say, hey, add method, take these two values, which is 2 and 5, just add it. The actual calculation will be happening in the service. So all the processing will be done in the service. But what if you want to get something from database? And that's why we have one more layer here. Now this particular layer actually communicates with your database, right? In fact, in the earlier session, we were able to implement, okay, I think I have done a different thing. Yeah, this was the project, right? Because we have also implemented Spring. Let's talk about this one. But things remain same, right? If you go back to your previous code, this is day 2, which I'm talking about. So you can see we are writing all the SQL queries. Now what we have done in the previous session, so basically we are doing a quick revision of what we have done. But if you go back to our previous session, we tried to reduce the code, right? We tried to say, let's use certain tools and some frameworks so that we don't have to do everything by ourselves. Now my question to you is it a good idea to use frameworks to reduce the code? What do you think? You know, some of the people I know, they say, hey, you know, we as a programmer, we should write everything by ourselves, right? What do you think? That's a good idea? Whatever the application does, don't take help from anything else. Just build it by yourself. Okay, let me talk about the first problem, which is if you try to do everything by yourself, there are a lot of things you have to do by yourself. Building your own OS, because ultimately your application runs on the OS. Building your own runtime, that means your JVM and JRE. Not using any library. Example here for database connection as well, we have imported some packages. Don't do that. Do it by everything by yourself, right? And we can't do that, right? We want to complete the project in a month or two, or maybe in a year if it is a complex project. If you try to do everything by yourself, it will take months even to write a simple database connection. The second reason is, before I talk about the second reason, I have a question for you. And just complete the sentence. I have used this multiple times. So even if you know it, you can answer that. Or if you don't know about it, think about it. It's a funny thing, not a serious issue or serious thing. So my question is, if debugging is removing bugs, okay, that's what we say, right? Debugging is removing bugs. Then what is coding? Come on. Okay, so there's a huge delay between what I say and when you reply. So there's basically, if debugging is removing bugs, then coding is adding bugs. So what I'm saying is every time you write one line of code, that is a potential bug. Let me show you. This line can be a potential bug. This line can be a potential bug. It may not come up when you run the application, but based on the different input from the user, it might behave differently. And that's why we do testing, right? So every time you write your application, it's important for you to test your application. That's very important. So one way to reduce the testing and one way to reduce the potential bugs is don't write the code. Write minimum lines of code. What if the framework which you're working with says, hey, you don't have to write all these lines. I will give it to you behind the scene. The good thing is all these particular frameworks, they are well tested and they are getting used in the industry from a long time. So at least you can trust them that they are not creating issues. Okay, I'm not saying it is 100% safe. There have been some cases where you have used certain libraries and they found some issues with the library, and because of which the attack happened. You might have heard about Log4j. In fact, in the Spring framework also, there was some, I forgot the library, but if anyone knows, let me know in the chat. It was having some issues. And again, it's not like the issue stays, it gets rectified, but it happens. I'm not saying it is 100% safe. But try to write less amount of code, okay? Cool. So this is what we have done in the database. But then in the yesterday's session, we have seen something called a Spring framework. Now using Spring framework, Spring provides you something called a dependency injection, which means you don't have to create the object. You simply have to use the object. Example, if I want the object of product service, in the previous example, on day 2, basically we were able to create the object with the help of new keyword. But the moment you use a new keyword, that means you are handling the object. You are creating an object, you are doing everything with it. Okay. And then, okay. So in Spring, what we are doing is we are not creating an object by ourselves. We are simply saying there's a Spring container. So Spring frameworks actually create a container for you. Imagine a container as a box which has a lot of different objects. And you simply say, hey, I want that object. Example, let's say if you want a phone, of course, you will not manufacture the phone by yourself. You will simply go to a shop and buy the phone. In the same way, Spring container says, I have all the objects which you need, just ask for it. Okay, and that's what we are doing. We are saying, hey, Spring, get me a bean, get me the object. Basically, the objects in Spring containers are called bean. Of course, it has more logic to it, but let's not talk about the logic at this point. Imagine bean as an object. Okay, and then we are getting the object of this particular class, which is product service, and then you got the object and you can use the object for your purpose, right? And we are able to call the methods. Now the beauty is there's nothing changed in the service, right? You can see we have all the same methods. We have commented it, but it should work. And product service needs the object of product DB, right? Of course, if you have a class which is calling another class methods, you need object for it. And you don't have to say new keyword. What you can simply do is all the classes or all the interfaces, which is repository basically, what you can do is you can write a annotation. Now let's not discuss the difference between repository, service, component. Again, it will take another 2 hours just to understand it. But just a gist. Basically, Spring will say, okay, the moment you mention repository, the moment you mention service, the moment you mention component, where we have used it, entity, and you can also use component. What Spring will do is every class which has this annotation on top of it, it will create object for you. And you don't have to get object by yourself. Spring will give it to you, and you simply say, give me the object. And one way to do that is by using auto-wired. Now, how exactly it is searches, let's not talk about those things. Okay, but then it will give it to you. Now, what we are going to do today is we will be converting this project into a web project. Now, today's session might be based shorter because we don't have much to do. We just have to convert this project into web. So let's do that. Okay, so let's get back to our drawing board. So basically what we're trying to do is, first of all, why do we build a web project? Is because when it comes to standalone project, what we have done, it only works on my machine. If I want to use the same thing on someone else's machine, basically I have to take the entire project, give it to them, and they will run it. Example, in our office, we have 4 working machines, and if only one machine has the software, they will not be able to access it. And also, where will be database? Database is in this machine. Then we have to connect and all the stuff. So what we can do is, instead of building a standalone project, we can build a web project where anyone can use it. Not just us, we can use it, the entire world can use it, you can also use it. Maybe we can create an account repository, you can have your own account and you can manage your own products. We can do that. And okay, that's one. So if we talk about client, we are poor people, we have a client, we have a laptop here. So basically from this laptop, I want to access this database. See, ultimately it's all about database, right? As a user, you're not concerned about, you are concerned about the data. You want data, right? So how a user will be connected to a database? So basically a user, of course, if a user wants to send a request, database only works with one language, which is SQL. If you talk about the language database like DBMS, so when you talk about DBMS, we have RDBMS specifically. We use SQL language. Example, we are using Postgres here, right? Now, when we use Postgres, so that is RDBMS, you need to use SQL. Now, from a user, of course, imagine a normal user. A user will not be searching something online, not be searching something by using SQL query. Ask your parents or ask your friends who are from non-IT and say, hey, if you want to check your profile on Instagram, just say select star from Instagram database where the username is this. Of course, as a normal user, we don't do that, right? So what you get is a UI. So basically, a client will get a UI here. So this is where the UI will be. And this UI will send the request to the server. Of course, a server can be on the same, database can be on the same machine, or database can be on some other machine, doesn't matter. But let's say at this point we have on the same machine. Now in this machine, we have to first create something here. So a user will send a request, right? A user will send a request, and what a user will get is response. Now specifically, if we talk about a protocol which we use to send and accept the request, we use something called HTTP, right? So we have to use HTTP protocol to send and receive the request. Now, this particular box here, this is responsible to accept the request from the client. So whatever client's request, it will say, okay, I got this request. Let me see if I can fulfill that or not. Okay. And then based on that, it will send the response as well. Yeah. So based on that, it will send a response as well. Now this type of layer in between, we call them as controllers. Now what is the job of a controller? Just to accept the request from the client and send the response. Let me repeat. The only job of a controller here is to accept the request from a client and send the response. Now, whatever extra you want to do, example, let's say if you want to process something, client says, hey, controller, I want to add 2 numbers. Now, question arises, where you will add those 2 numbers? Will you add that in a controller or somewhere else? So never. Remember, never do any calculations in the controller. Controller's job is to just to accept the request and send the response. Now, after controller, you will be having one more layer here, which is your service layer. Now, this layer is responsible to perform the operations. Example, let's say client says, hey, server, I want to add two numbers. Okay, server says, give me the request. Of course, I will work only when you send the request. The controller, this particular controller here, will accept the request, and then it will say, oh, you are basically trying to add two numbers. Let me take help from the service. Now, it is service responsibility to add those two numbers. And then, of course, service can send the response to the controller, and controller will send the response to the client, if that makes sense. But what if client says, hey, I want to know some data which is there in the database. Example, let's say you want to fetch a product which is there in the database. Now, question arises, who will do it? Is it your service who will do it, or someone else? So basically, we have one more layer here, which is your data layer. In fact, we can say data layer. It has multiple names to it, but just to keep it simple, we have a database layer, or we can say database layer, data layer, doesn't matter. And then this request goes to service will request to a database layer, and database will send the response. Now, this is how you basically have multiple layers in the web application. A client sends a request goes to the controller sends the request to the service sends the request to the data. Data will have the SQL queries, which will send request to the database, fetch the data, send it to service will send it to controller will send it to the client. Okay. Now, the beauty is a client or a controller can send the data to the client, right? But how the data should look like? Of course, the data should be fancy, right? It should not be a simple data. You want to see the data on a proper layout and all the stuff. So what you can do is you can send a HTML page. So basically what our clients receive is HTML. But nowadays, when you talk about clients, it's not just a web page, or it's not just a web browser, right? In the earlier days, we used to only use web browsers. But now we have multiple devices. Example, you can have a phone, you can have, what else we can have? Anyway, let's say we have phone as well. Now, a client here wants to access data from a phone. Now, if you open any application, our application, we already have a layout, right? Because see, in a browser, when you see a page, you don't have a layout here. You simply have a blank page. Whatever it has to show should be coming from the server. But on the mobile phone, when you talk about any application, doesn't matter is it Android, iOS, or any type of mobile phone, you have a layout specified. What changes is data. Example, let's say if you go to Instagram and when you scroll, basically, you have those boxes fixed. The data changes, right? So we already have a layout here. Now from the server side, do you need a HTML page or do you just want a data? Of course, right? You just want a data. Now question arises, what should be the format of this data? Normally a data can come into different formats. In the earlier days, we used to use XML, but now the famous one is, you can also write in the chat, the famous one is JSON, which is JavaScript Object Notation. So whatever data you get from the controller will be coming in the JSON format. Now the same JSON format will be showed on the Android. Of course, the layout is fixed, data is coming, it will show the data. And even if you're using a browser, what you can do is instead of sending an HTML file, what you can do is you can send a React page, a single page application, and then the React will already have a layout. Every time you do something, it will send the request to the server and get the data. And that's why if you see on the front end part, React is very famous, right? And mobile, you can also use Android or iOS applications. I hope this makes sense, everyone. Cool. Okay. So now what we want to do is we basically want to create this controller. Now, how do we do it? And since we are creating a web project, we also need a server. So we need a server where you can run this. Now, different languages have different servers. Example, if you want to work with PHP, I think PHP uses a XAMPP server, right? We also have WAM server, XAMPP server. There are entire shop of servers for PHP. Then when it comes to okay, what are the language? JavaScript. So if you are using a JavaScript in the backend, basically you need a node there, Node.js, and that's why if you want to build a backend application, you use Node there. And if you are using Java, basically if you are using if you want to use a web server, one of the most famous one is your Tomcat. Okay, so basically if you want to use the entire thing, you need to install Tomcat in your machine. Okay, oh, so that's what we are trying to build here. This is the entire thing we are going to do. Now in this particular session, we will not be talking about the front end. Okay, so this section here is not something we are concerned about. We just want to focus on the backend part. Does it make sense? We are focusing only on this. But now question arises, even if you build this, how will you use it? If you don't have a front end, how will you use it? So what we can do is, see the thing is, every time you have a server who says you can send a request and you can get the response, even if a server provides 10 features, so let's say a server says, I will provide you 10 features, or server has a 10 feature, but server only wants to provide 5 features to the public. How do we do it? How do we provide the service to the outside world? Let me repeat my question. If a server has so many features or so many services, how it will expose those services to the outside world? And that's why we have this concept called API. So basically from the server side, you have to expose some APIs. Does it make sense, everyone? Or it is very complex? Yeah. So we basically have to build this API and expose it. Now question is, if you don't have a front end, how will you expose this? So that's why what we can do is, instead of using this front end here, we can use a API tool, a tool where you can send a request to the API. And one of the most famous API tool is Postman. There are multiple options, but then Postman is very famous, so let's use it. Cool. It's time to get started with the project. Okay, let's rewatch the session then. If it is complex. Yeah, you have to watch it. If this is the first time you're seeing this, it's very complex. So do rewatch it. Okay, let's get back to the code. And what we're going to do here is we will build a web application, right? And of course, we can reuse the code here. And what I want to do is I just want to close the earlier project so that we'll have less windows open. We already have so many things going on and stuff. I hope you're also practicing what we are doing in this session, because just watching a session will not make any sense. You will forget this concept in a day or two. So do practice this. Yeah, behind the scene, even if you're using a Spring framework, behind the scene, these are your servlets. Controllers are your servlets. Yeah. If you want to go detail of Spring MVC, I will make sure that there's a link in description. Harsh, can you add Spring MVC video in the description? Okay. You will get entire idea how these controllers are created. Because see, what we are going to see today is Spring Boot. Okay, and Spring Boot actually makes your work very, very easy. But the thing is, if you really want to understand what is happening behind the scene, that's where you have to understand how Spring Framework works. So Spring Boot is actually a layer on top of Spring Framework to make your work easy. Yeah, hi Praveen, yeah, I received your mail. We'll surely connect soon. I'm just taking out some time. Yeah, okay, no problem. Try the assignments today and do practice it. Okay, so let's get back here. So what I will do is I will create a Spring web project. Now, how do we do that? Just go to the browser and the same website which we have went yesterday, which is Spring Initializer. Select Maven, select Java, all the same settings which we have done. Project name here, Spring Web, because we are building a web project now. And jar file, var file. Okay, now the difference between jar and var is, in var basically you deploy the project on a Tomcat server. So basically the place where you are deploying it should have a Tomcat server. Jar, what it does is it embeds the Tomcat server inside the project. That means if you have a project ready, you can just run it because Tomcat is there already. Okay. Okay. Now, what about dependencies? We need Postgres in this particular thing as well. We also need data JPA because that's how we're going to connect with database. Apart from this, we need one more thing, which is web. Okay. So we need a Spring Web. What else we need? Let me just check. Am I missing something here? I think Spring Web is what we need. Okay, cool. We can also add Lombok here because I want to reduce this code. Let me see if I have Lombok. I've never tried Lombok in this. Yeah, we have Lombok here. Cool. Now, once you have all these things, click on generate. Your project will be ready to use. Let's unzip it. Done. And let's open this project. So go back to IntelliJ IDEA, file, open. Downloads, Spring product, Spring Web. Click on open. A new window because we want to use the earlier window as well. And voila, you got your Spring Web project ready. Okay, now as I mentioned, the Tomcat is already present in this particular project. If I go to external libraries, and if you search here, Tomcat will be already present. Where are you, Tomcat? Oh, don't tell me they are giving you Glassfish now. Oh, yeah, it's here. So you can see we got Tomcat. I don't know why I was not able to see that properly. Oh, he's Hitesh here? Okay, Hitesh says, can I also win this MacBook? I watch all your live stream. For sure, Hitesh. But I think you already got one from Apple. Yeah, Harsh says, Hitesh, so you already have a Mac Studio. Yeah. Cool. So you can see Tomcat is already here. So what I will do is I will just minimize this and let's create a project now. We already have a project, let's expand it. Now, if you check out the pom.xml, now this is where you have all the dependencies, right? So we got data JPA, we got Spring Web, we got Postgres, we got the Lombok as well to reduce the code. And apart from this, if you go back to SRC, and if you see the files, we already have one file here, which is the main file. And if you expand this, no fancy code. And you can see we got, okay, we have one more file here, which is application properties, which we'll see later. But we got the project, right? Now, if you are coming from the old world of Java, let's say if you are talking about servlets or Spring Framework, normal Spring MVC, we need to do a lot of configuration even before you run the project. Let me run this project. What I will do is, even before running the project, let me go back to my browser. And here, let me search for localhost :8080. Enter. And you can see it says this site cannot be reached because the server is not running. So if you want to access your Tomcat with a default port number, now this is a default port number for Tomcat, and you can see this is not running. What I will do is I will run this application without installing any Tomcat and stuff, because Tomcat is there embedded. If I run this code, okay. Oh, the same problem. I don't know why I add the data JPA, because the thing is, Spring Boot is very smart. Now, since we have added data JPA, it is searching for the database connections. Just to keep it happy, what I will do is, I will just get those connections which we have done yesterday. All these connections, copy and paste in the application.properties, which is empty in this case. At least let's keep our data JPA happy, right? We have done that. And now let's run this once again. Let's see what happens. Run. And you can see it is running. The Tomcat started on port 8080. So just by downloading the project, you are able to run it. No external dependencies. That's fun, right? Let's go back here, refresh. Can you see that? Yeah, we got the error because that's our life. But at least you got the error from the Tomcat. It says the home page which you're searching for is not there because we are accepting the request, but then the request which is coming from the client, we're not able to process it because there's no mapping there, right? Okay, so what we'll do is, let's do the mapping. Now question arises where to do the mapping. So I will just go back here and create a controller. Remember in this, we have talked about a controller. So we need to get this controller here. So I will say new, and let's create a class, and let's name this as a product. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me do that again, what I've done. So right click on the package, say new, and say Java class, and click on product controller. Yeah. So Patrick says this is so cool to watch, and see, that was the idea. A lot of people get scared by Java by saying it is very complex, but it's fun. It's fun because if it works, it works. It's not like other languages where it works on your machine, but the moment you go to some other machine, it crashes. Yeah, and yeah, so that's how it works. Okay, I don't want to name the languages, but it works. Anyway, so we got a product controller here. Now, how do you make this a controller? This is a normal class, right? How do you make this as a controller? We have to give it some extra power. How do you give that to extra power? How do you make this a controller? Just by having a controller in your name will not make you a controller, right? Okay, so yeah, Spring Boot is a magical framework. Okay, so how do you make this a controller? It's very simple. You simply add something called a REST controller. Now question arises, controller makes sense, why it is called REST? See, there's a concept of REST API. Now since we are using a HTTP request, if you want to do anything on the server side, if you want to get the data, if you want to save data, send data, if you want to update data, if you want to delete data, what you can do is you can use something called REST, which stands for representational state transfer. Whatever communication happening between client and a server, it's all about transferring the states, right? Sending the values. And that's why we say a REST controller. To know more about REST controller, I will put a video in description. Harsh, REST API, your favorite video. Okay, so you'll find the link in description about REST API, and this will make much more sense then. Okay, how to become pro like you in coding? Okay, teach coding to everyone or make some projects. I'm doing this from last 10 years now. At least for Java, I find it very easy now to type code. But yeah, when I try to learn work on some other languages, I do get stuck. I think about it for a long time, what to use, what not to use. Then we use Stack Overflow there. So for Java, I don't have to use Stack Overflow much because when I read the documentation, it makes much more sense. Yeah, sometime I get stuck and then, of course, you have to do that. But for other languages, I still struggle. And the thing is, I love to explore multiple languages, and I love that struggle. Okay. Okay, so you can see we got a REST controller, and now this is a controller. It is ready to accept the request. But the thing is, if you talk about a web application, you have multiple pages, right? So you have multiple pages, and every page will have a different address. If you observe the address bar, your address bar changes for different requests. In the same way, for this particular application as well, you have to specify what you want to do. Do you want to get the products? Do you want to add a product? Do you want to update a product? Do you want all the products? Do you want a product based on a particular name? For that, you have to provide multiple mappings. Example, if I go back to my browser and if I say, okay, from this page, not the courses, I want all the products. I can simply say localhost colon 8080 slash products. The moment I enter, it's not working because there's no mapping happening. So what I will do is, for this particular request, what I can do is I can create a method. So if someone is calling products, I have to call this method. Now this method returns a list of products, right? Because you're asking for all the products. So list of products, we don't have that class yet. So I will say get products, or I can say get all products because you are fetching all the products. And that's it. The thing is, we don't have this class product here. Can you see that? We don't have this class. So what to do? Okay, so basically we have a class here, which is a product, and we don't have a class. So what we'll do is we'll go back to earlier project and copy this class product. Okay, not here, here. Let's paste this class. So we got product. Now there's no issue. We have to import the package for list. Okay, and then here we can simply return. Okay, what do you return? Oh, I don't know how to fetch this value. It's because controller will not do all those things, right? Controller needs helps from another layer. What is that layer? Yeah, that's right. We want these two classes, service and database. Copy this and paste, because we need these two layers as well, the service layer and the DB layer. So what you can do is you can create an object of a product service. So you can say product service. I will say service. And should I say new keyword? No, right? I can simply inject it. So the way you can inject that is with the help of auto wired. And we got it. We got this service class. And now with this service, you will say service dot get all products, job done. You simply converted your normal project to a web project. Voila. No, Abhishek, I'm not associated with any of the company now. Hey, we got super chat. Thank you so much. I just lost the super chat somewhere. Thank you so much, Akhil. Super chat helps. Anyway, so this is your web project now. But will this work? That's the real question. Let's try. Let's restart the server. And there is no error, you can see. Go back to the browser Refresh. Oh, it's not working. It is not working. What's wrong? What's wrong there, my friend? What's wrong? The thing is, we created this method, but nowhere there's a mapping, right? Of course, a controller can have multiple methods. Different methods should execute for different requests. So we have to mention in English, hey, this is for products request. Simple, right? No, but that's a comment, right? How Java will understand that? So what we can do is we can say @. To do that, we have to say get mapping. And in this bracket, you have to mention what is your mapping. So this will be for products / products. So whenever you get request for products, this is what you have to execute. Save, go back. Okay, we have to restart the server. Restart. No issue. Refresh. Whoa. We got it. Is this making sense? Okay, how to copy files is very simple. Just go back to the earlier project and just copy the files, right click, copy, and paste in your recent project now, whatever project you're building. In fact, I'm not following a proper standards here. You know, the controller should go to controllers package. The DB goes to the repo package. Service goes to service package. Product goes to model package. And that's why we say MVC, right? Which is model view controller. So the data which is passing between all these layers are called models, right? Product is a model here. Yeah, Spring Boot is actually interesting. Cool. You know why I'm not creating those packages? Because the project is already so complex. That's a good practice. You should always do that. But yeah, I'm teaching you the concept, so it works for me. Okay, now what about, I want to send the data. Okay, I want to create new entry in the database. How do we do that? How do we send the new record? Well, that's a question. Now let's say if you have a form on your mobile application or a web page, you can enter data and you can say send. But I don't have a UI here, right? How will I send data from here? And what should be the request? Now the request can be, I want to send a product, not products, because when you're fetching it, you're fetching the products, right? But what if you want to send a product, one? How do we do that? In fact, you know, before that, I just want to show you one more thing. What if you want to fetch one particular product, not multiple? So let's say if I want to fetch, let's say I want to fetch black based, okay? So what I can do is, in the request, I can say, hey, I don't want all the products, I want one product, that's my product, / I want black based. Enter, this is not working. How to make it work? It's very simple. You can add one more mapping, copy and paste. And here, instead of saying get all products, I can say get product. And it is not returning a list, it should return a product, simple product. And the mapping will be product / black based, right? And then you cannot return all the products, you have to return one product. So you can say service.get. Okay, but the problem is, I think we have commented it in the service class. So if I go back to service, you can see we have commented this. And the thing is, this should be coming from the database, not from a list, because we have not coded this in the last session. Let me code it fast. So I can simply say return db dot find by. Okay, we have to find by name, right? Because you can use find, but then it will work with the primary key. You can see we got find by ID. If you want to do find by, we do have find by, but will this work? Oh, we have to pass the query function as well. So what I can do is Spring Data JPA. In fact, Data JPA provides you one more thing. You can go to database, and if you want to fetch from particular column, not from the primary key, what you can do is you can say return a product and find by name. So whatever column name you have, so say find by, this is fixed. What will change is the column name. So find by name and whatever name you get here, string name. And the beauty is you don't even have to define this. Okay, you don't even have to define this. Okay, where do you find the last session? Go to the channel, and there's a question, where do you find the last question? Let me just do that. Yeah. So go to the channel and search for a playlist tab. So in the playlist, there's a 10-day challenge. You can follow the videos there. Okay, just add this method. Go back to your service and say db.find by name and whatever your name is. No need to define, no need to write any SQL query or something. Now go back to the controller and say get product by name, which is, okay, where's the name? Let me just try with Black Beast. I'm hard coding it at this point. Let's see if this works. Black Beast, restart the server. Of course, you can also install DevTools, which will help you to directly restart the server every time you make a changes. Okay. Let's refresh this. Oh, it works. You can see we got Black Beast. But the thing is, it will only work for Black Beast. If you try to use some other name, it will not work. You know why? It's because we have hard-coded the values. We are saying Black Beast at both the places. So what you can do is instead of saying Black Beast, you can put that in curly brackets and say name. So whatever data you're passing from there. Okay. We're saying this is so much easier than day 3 content. Okay, see, this is easy because we have done this in day 3. If you could have skipped the day 3, this is like next level complex because we have not even talked about these layers here. So we have done the difficult part in the last session. Okay, so you can see, so whatever data you're getting, you will save that in this particular name in the curly brackets. And then you can accept it in here. So you can say name. So whatever name is coming here, you can accept it here. Okay, let's try. And the same variable can be used here now instead of saying Black Beast, because see, it doesn't matter what you search, it will always give you Black Beast. We don't want it. We want to, so whatever user says here, that's what you want to accept. So restart. And refresh. Oh, it's not working. You can see it's not working. What went wrong? I was expecting error, but there's no error. Give me something. Okay, so let me tell you what the problem is. The thing is, you have to use one annotation here, which is path variable if you want to use this. So by path variable, what you're saying is, in the path, whatever variable you have, just try to map it. So you can say name, try to map it. That was missing there. And now refresh, it works. You can use it for any other name. In fact, I remember we have Asus ROG, right? That's one machine. But the thing is, since we have a space between two words, on the internet, if you want to use web address, web URL, you have to use %20, which is a code. Okay, which is a code for space. Just say enter, and you can see we got Asus ROG. Is it making sense? And the format which you can see here is JSON format. Okay, Patrick sounds more like Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley. Okay, so let me go back to my code again, and now let's do it for the adding a product, because we were able to fetch products. What if you want to add a product? Okay, so if you want to do that, what you can do is you can create public, and since we are adding it, we can use void because we don't want anything in return. Normally, a good practice is to return the status code. HTTP has different status code. Example 404 is for error related to resources. 500 is the error related to the servers. 200 is okay, everything is going well. So every time you perform some operation, you have to return the status code as well. In this particular session, we are not doing it because again, it will be very complex. Yeah. Okay, so public void add product. And now question arises, what should be a part of this parenthesis? Or sorry, the round brackets. If you are passing a single value, you will accept that in a string. Now you are passing an object from the client side. How will you do it? Day by day, the number of concurrent users are going down. So day one, we were having 400 viewers at the same time. Day two, we had 300. Yesterday, we had around 150 because of weekend and IPL matches. Today, we have 185. And that's why, as time goes, as the session increases, number of people drop down. So people who are still watching this continuously, good job. And this is how people get and these people go ahead in their career, and then the other people realize, why I'm not getting that job, why I'm still jobless, why I'm not able to excel in my career. It's because you're not consistent, my friend. You're not consistent. Consistency is very important. Anyway, so what should be part of here? So since we are sending data from a client, we have to send the entire object of a product because that's what we are adding. So we have to accept that here. So we have to say product P. So we are accepting it. The entire product, we are accepting it. Now, once you accept it, we can simply say service dot add. Okay, we don't have add method. Okay, we have to implement so many things now. In this service, this is the add method. Okay, product and db.save. Okay, this should work. Let's go back to the controller. Say add product, pass P, and your job is done. But how do you map it? Now question arises, what type of request you are sending? So basically, whenever we talk about HTTP, we have different protocols there or different methods there in HTTP. So if you want to fetch data, we use get. And when you want to save data or when you want to send data, we use post. Okay, so we have to use post mapping here, not get mapping. So let me repeat. When you want to get data, we use, when you want to fetch data, we use get. When you want to send data, we use post. And what should be the URL? I want to be consistent with the product. We'll say /product. Now you will be saying, don't you think this one and this one matches, this product and this product? They are matching, but then look at the mapping as well. We got get mapping, we got post mapping here. Okay, of course, this is also different, but even if they are same, we got two different types of mapping there. One is get and second is post mapping. Now, people who are coming from this servlet background, they know what I'm talking about, right? Do get, do post. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we got this, right? But the question is, will this work? Let's go back to our browser and let's send the data. Oh, but how do I send data from here? How do I send the data? How? Okay, Because see, browser supports fetching. Of course, you can use some tools internally to do that. But if you want to send data, let's use a real tool which will use to test the APIs. And that's why we have Postman. Now, Postman is specialized in request sending and response. What I will do is I will start with the products. So let's try this first, this address. In the Postman, this is how Postman looks like. If you want to download Postman, you can go to postman.com and you can download depending upon your OS. So go back to Postman and set a GET request. GET request for this particular URL, which is localhost:8080/products, and say send. And you can see you will get all your data here. And this is a status code you got there. But if you can customize it from the server side. Okay. Let's try it for product/black beast. Send, and you can see we only got black beast. But now I want to send a request. I want to send a post request. So you will go to post. The URL is this, which is localhost:8080/product. But now this time we have to send data as well. How do you send data? So what you can do is you can just copy this. Now, if you want to send data, you will do that in a body. So in the HTTP body, you do that and replace this with this. And let's change values. So we already have till 15. Let's add 16. One of the item on my table is a pen. Pen is of type pen. It's on white table. Expiry. Pen never expires. Let's say 9999. Okay. So yeah, so basically you have to use, we can also use headers actually. Yeah, but then let's use body. You can set the raw and you can set the data like this. You can set the format, what you're sending JSON, and say, okay, the problem is, yeah, it should work. We don't have to set the value, right, for ID. Let's try. Say send. Okay, it says product not found. That's weird. We forgot to restart the server, is it? No, it's not mandatory to learn servlets before this, but then there are a lot of things you will not understand what is happening behind the scene. If you learn servlet, then this things becomes much more easier to understand. Yeah, ID is actually auto-generated, so we don't have to pass the ID. But let's say even if you're passing it, no harm. Run. Something happened. You can see there's no error. You got 200. Let's send the GET request again for the products. Send. You can see we got all the products. If you go down, oh, it's not working. You can see the data is not assigned. We were able to send the request. Data is also saved in the database, but not the data which we have sent. Okay, it was not able to accept data. That's the problem. So we have to use one more annotation here, which is request body. So if you have to mention, hey, I'm sending something from the body, accept it. Okay. So we have to explain everything to Spring Framework. Okay, let's try now. Let's send this data again because this time it will use another ID. Run. Oh, sorry, we have to send a post request. In fact, where is my history here? I'm using Postman for a long time. Yeah, here. So let me use a post request with the same body. Send. Nothing went wrong here. Let me use the GET request. Send. Go back. Yeah, can you see that we got it? We got it. So we got pen, a white table, and everything. Is this making sense? Oh, that's great. Okay. Now, I want to show you one more thing about Lombok, right? How do you integrate Lombok here? And before that, it's time for the offer. We forgot to take a break today. Yeah. So this is the first time we have not taken a break in a session. Good job again. Uh, Now, since we have not taken the break, let me talk about the course again. Because every day I'm giving you 50% off only for people who are attending the sessions, right? So I forgot to do that today. Maybe a few people joined new. So basically, there's a course coming up for the entire Spring. I mean, mastering Java in Spring Framework, Spring Boot, starting from 4th of June. You can find the link in description or also in the chat if I'm not sure if it is there. And you will get the coupon for 50% off for next 2 hours. So I just want to keep this running for next 6 days. Okay, and now it's time for Lombok. Let's go to Lombok. Lombok, how do we integrate that? We have already added the Lombok part in the XML. And where do we want to use it? I want to use it for the product. If you look at the product class, there are so many things here, right? What you can do is, for this particular variables, I don't want to create getters and setters. You can skip the entire part from here, even toString. You can say I don't want to write it. It makes your code so lengthy, right? So what you can do is you can just go on top of your class and say data, and that's it. It will auto-generate the getter setters for you. So basically, Lombok is used to reduce the number of lines of code you write in a class. And again, you will find the link for the Lombok in description, if it is where Lombok is there in the description. Okay, Harsh will add it. So the AI bot, Harsh, will add it. Okay. So does it make sense, everyone? What we have done? Yeah. Okay. Now it's time for the most important thing, assignment. Put them in the description as well, Harsh. Okay. Okay. So the assignment part. The first assignment is convert the assignment from day 3 to Spring Web. Okay, convert the entire project. Next, create a simple UI for this project, or you're expert in React, create a React application. And if I find a good React application which is integrated with this project, by tomorrow afternoon, I will show the code to everyone, because even I want to say it. Okay, Ravi says, great session, whole Java is making sense now. Oh, thank you so much. That was a plan. And if everyone else, if you enjoyed the session, hit that like button. Okay, let me see how many people are watching this on LinkedIn, because the session is also going live on LinkedIn. Okay, where do I see my notifications on LinkedIn? Okay, it's here. Okay, I can't see my post. That's weird. Oh, no issue. I will just look at it later. Is Python accepted for the assignment? Yes. Okay, it's running right. How many people are watching on LinkedIn? Oh, can't I see the real stats on LinkedIn? I can see a lot of messages here. Oh, it's huge. The messages on LinkedIn is huge. Okay. If anyone who is not connected or who is not following me on LinkedIn, you can follow the links here. You can find there's a LinkedIn linked as well, the first one. And I'm also there on Instagram. You can follow there as well. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for this session. I enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed. We'll connect tomorrow. This was the assignment which you have to complete by tomorrow. And every day I'm getting so many posts on LinkedIn. It's amazing. And some people also made videos. That's great. Thank you so much. Never thought we could have gone this far, but yeah, learning is fun. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's connect tomorrow. Before you leave, please hit the like button and also share with your friends, because that's how other people will know about this challenge and the learning we are doing here. Discord server link is Telesco. You can search for Telesco on Discord. Abhishek, what you can do is you can just watch the JPA videos on YouTube. Harsh will try to send a link of data JPA, Spring JPA. Oh, right, PayPal link. Actually, we are trying to figure out how do we integrate the platform already with the PayPal. So we'll surely send Narayana, Lakshmi. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Is this the part of a paid series? No, this sessions is completely free. This is for learning purpose, getting everything, making everyone learn something new. The paid is for someone who want to master all those technologies. Oh, thank you so much. Is Angular accepted? Yes. Even though Java is powerful, but these frameworks are next level. Yes. Okay. Good evening. Raghavan here. Just stepped in to say hi. Oh, thank you so much, Raghavan. Is Telesco is from Ethiopia? No, I'm from India. Harsh is your backbone. Good job, Harsh. Good job, Harsh. You deserve an increment. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next session, which is tomorrow. And let's see what we can do tomorrow. It's not planned yet, but I will find something interesting for tomorrow. Yeah. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Hit that like button before you leave. And good night if you're from India, and it is nighttime for you. Otherwise, have a great day.